Hey everybody, Alisa Crimaldi with Crimaldi & Associates in RentSWFL, Florida, and I am here today to answer that huge question that I'm sure is looming on your mind, which is, what the heck do we do? No, seriously. So we get this question all the time. So I figured it would just be easier to make a video so you guys can reference it. And for those of you who are planning to self-manage your property, this is probably a great jumping off point for you as well, so that you can kind of see what the pros do and adjust accordingly. So before we get started, please be sure to like, subscribe, and press the little ringy bell so that way you get the instant notifications every time that we upload one of these riveting videos. Okay, so let's get started. So a little bit about us. We have been in business for about 20 years, servicing Southwest Florida, these bundle golf communities all that time. So we've always specialized in that. When we got started in real estate, Joe actually was in management for Lennar, and then I came down here in 2004, got my real estate license too, and we made the specific decision to specialize in rental properties. So a lot of realtors will come in and out of the market and do rentals either as a favor to a client, or if the market goes soft, then that's kind of how they pay their bills. But we made the cognizant decision to specialize in rental properties to help our clients protect their investments and to also stay on top of everything. So as markets evolve, then we are at the forefront of unique investment opportunities. So that's kind of our background. Us personally, so Joe and I are obviously married. We've got 3 really cute kids. You might have seen them out of the pool. We personally have owned in several of these bundle golf communities, both for personal use and for investment. So we're very, very, very well acquainted with how these communities evolve. I also worked for Lennar as an on-site salesperson for 6 years, I think, at, where was I? I was at Fiddler's Creek, close to Marco, Treviso Bay in Naples, Bonita National in Bonita Springs, and Heritage Landing in Punta Gorda. So I was an on-site salesperson there, so I became extremely well acquainted with how Lennar operates, the delivery schedules, the changes in their procedure, the walkthroughs, and all that kind of stuff. So very, very well versed in how those operations go on. And I feel like between he and I, he was a vice president of sales and vice president of construction for Lennar. So I'm not saying this to bore you. I'm just trying to express that we've been around the block and we've had a lot of formal training and know a lot of things that maybe other people aren't as well versed in. And that serves our clients very well, I think. So that's a little bit about us. And then, what the heck do we do? What is your money paying for if you hire us? And, that's full service management. We, you'll find some realtors will offer like a one-time finder's fee. So like what that is like if you're renting it unfurnished, for example, they'll say, okay, I'm going to find you a tenant. So they go out, they find Bobby's going to rent the unit. You're going to pay me 1 month's rent. And then now it's on you to screen Bobby, make sure Bobby's lease is in place. Sometimes the realtor will do that part. But when the phone's ringing in the middle of the night, you're dealing with Bobby. If his rent is late, you're dealing with that. Like that on the one-time finder's fees, it's kind of like a love them and leave them kind of thing. And I don't mean that in a malicious way at all, but there's zero responsibility for whoever found you the tenant to do anything else after it's done. The benefit of that is you usually might save a few $100 a year. And some people just like to have that hands-on approach, right? So that's how the finder's fee works. The way we do it is how we would personally want it done if it was us. And so again, we made that decision to make it full service. And what that means is the tenant does not have your information unless they specifically went out and stalked you and found it. Like, they're not getting it from us. So that means you're not getting the phone calls in the middle of the night. It's kind of like, when you rent your property, it's kind of like you have a child, right? And not that they're children, but it's kind of like that parent to child relationship. So imagine if you, the homeowner, have the tenant's information. You're talking to them back and forth. And we are also representing you, and we're talking back and forth, right? Well, now it's kind of like when your kids are like, oh, well, I asked dad and he said this. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't, or vice versa. So they're playing mom and dad against each other. So that's why, that's one of the reasons why we have it full service, so that way there's not that conflict and that confusion with where the relationship stands between landlord and tenant. But also because if, it's just like with your kids. If I tell my kids something and they don't like it, they're going to go to their dad. And they're not going to tell him that I already told him no, right? So we set this up specifically so that doesn't happen. And also you're paying us to do this service. So if it was me, I would not want to be dealing with any headaches at that point, right? I'm paying you to deal with it, so you need to deal with it, right? So that's how we're set up with the owners. And so basically, you give us the keys, you give us the tools to get your unit ready, or you've gotten it ready, or whatever the case may be. So once it becomes rent ready, we find the tenant, we do all the work, and then you literally just sit back and you collect your check, and that's it. We do have owner involvement, and that doesn't mean that we are specifically excluding the owners. You can be as involved or as not involved as you want as the owner, but we do make it easy for you. So I know that certain states have very strict tenant laws, tenant protections in place that can kind of scare homeowners off from renting their property or from investing. And so our 20 years of experience, I think, gives that peace of mind to the homeowners, so that they know that we have it under control. So if something happens and they're not paying their rent, or they're not being compliant, or whatever, we do know the different Florida statutes that are in place and how to deal with those things seamlessly. So it could be that there's an issue and you as a homeowner, you don't even know. Like, we resolve it on the back end. If goodness forbid something happens, and like your tenant could be stellar to begin with, and then maybe something happened, they had I don't know, a death in the family or a change in their job or something that made them unable to pay the rent. Unfortunately, we do have the knowledge and the expertise in having to efficiently remedy that. So if that's through eviction, or if that's through some sort of agreement to have them leave, or whatever it is, whatever the right remedy is for that situation, then we're ready to do that. And we have a legal team behind us that's available to assist as well. So that's kind of how our system works. And then as far as like the services that we provide directly, it's twofold. So for our unfurnished units, or our annual units, we screen the tenants. Well, first of all, obviously we advertise, we show the properties, we screen the potential tenants, make sure that they screen out with income and background and all of that. We prepare the lease, we collect their security deposit, their last month's rent, like all the money's up front, and then we move them in, we collect their rent on a monthly basis. If there's any kind of maintenance concerns or anything like that, then we either work through warranty if it's something that's under warranty, like if you have a newer home, or we coordinate an appropriate vendor to come out there. We do have a full-time maintenance man, so that helps keep owners' costs low, instead of having to always contract a handyman that's going to charge $100 minimum plus however much an hour just to come out there and I don't know, unjam a garbage disposal or something silly, then we can send our maintenance guy over there, and it's way less expensive. So so we do all that. And then where our value really comes into play, and where you come out light years ahead, both financially and for headache purposes, is when they leave, because we have like I think it's like a 500 point inspection. It's crazy, like the checklist whenever they leave. So we document any kind of damages, we get those remedied, we place the claim on their security deposit. So we do all that. So you might not know all that stuff that's being done because you're still just getting your check. If they leave, then we're like, okay, yeah, we're renting it, we're already marketing it to the next person. But it can be super labor intensive once they leave to go through all that. And then if they dispute their security deposit, then that's a whole nother thing, and so that's more time intensive. And so we always have the documentation in place to deal with all that. But these are all things that if you didn't hire the right company, then you would be dealing with that yourself. Or more likely, you would be getting on a plane and flying down here from wherever you're at whenever they leave. So how much does that cost? So that's going to cost you $1,000 for travel to come down, and then to look at it all and to deal with, are you going to do it yourself? Are you going to contract it, whatever, get it rent ready? You're not going to know what to hold and what to not. It's going to depend on what kind of lease you signed with them, what they're responsible for and what they're not. We are very diligent to ensure that the property is as close to how it was delivered to the tenant after they leave and after we get it fixed up versus when they started. And so that's really where our value comes into play. So that's how it works with our annual rentals. On our furnished renters, it's sort of similar in that we still, we do all the marketing, we find the tenants, we do their background screening and all that. But then we also deal with the transition of them moving in. So a lot of times with a furnished rental, especially with the snowbirds, it's just inevitable. There's going to be technology issues. So we're going out there and fixing their TVs or getting whatever set up with their cable or whatever streaming platform, or dealing with if they're complaining because there's not a muffin pan, or whatever those concerns are. We work through all that. We also, in either instance, we deal with the association transfer paperwork, make sure everything's compliant. On the short-term leases, we collect the tenants' taxes and cleaning fees and all that. We remit it all to the appropriate parties. So that's all passed through, and you're not having to deal with that kind of reporting or anything. So we definitely, take into consideration the golden rule, and we are doing unto others as we would want done to us. And so that's, trying to make it as headache-free as possible. Over the last 20 years, we've seen so much. It's crazy. And there's a lot of things like you only know how to deal with it based on your experience. And for those of you that have been professionals over the years in whatever industry you're in, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And so to have gone through all these experiences over the last 2 decades has definitely enabled us to identify potential problems in advance, so that way it doesn't become a problem, distancing ourselves from certain situations or things like that. But also, in the event something does happen, then we're on top of it. We know exactly how to efficiently resolve it. And we also have all the network in place. If we need to bring in the big guns, we have that at our disposal as well. So if you're looking for a true professional that's been around the block and has also been in your shoes, because we've owned investment properties in these same communities, these same community types that you're likely buying in or looking at buying in. We've also been on association boards and the whole gamut in these same similar communities. So if you're looking for a true pro that knows what you're going through and knows how to protect your interests with it, most importantly being as painless as possible to you as the owner, then I definitely think that it's worth scheduling a consultation with us to see how it works. So if you do want to explore this, please feel free to give us a call, text, or email. And if you don't, then that's cool too. No, no harm, no foul. We'll see you out at the pool. And don't forget to like, subscribe, press the little bell thingy, and be sure to tune in for more of our riveting videos on other great topics about rentals. Till next time, we'll see you then.